Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another box set battle. Today's box set battle is basically the Arrow Shaw Brothers Volume 1 versus itself, because I'm just going to do a ranking of the films. This is a spectacular box set, spectacular looking box set. I mean, Arrow's Damaging box set was lovely, but the Shaw Brothers, that is Volume 1, it's just a ridiculously beautiful set. It is expensive, it's still available. You do get this wonderful big booklet with lots of lovely facts, and there are 12 films, one of which I had on 88 Films Blu-ray. And the discs are housed in this beautiful set with wonderful artwork. So it's 12 films and 2 CDs of music from 6 out of the 12 films. So again, I'm just going to do a general ranking. I mean, all these films are good to great for various different reasons, which I'll get into. The prints are exquisite. They're just so sharp. Again, I'm not an expert in martial arts films. You can go to A Touch of Films channel or Fanatical Dragons channel, which I'll leave links to underneath. I could have did a battle with the Eureka Cinematic Vengeance box set, but I don't actually have that one. I'll leave a link to Nazrin Prod's video on that box set. But we'll just make a start. So this is 12-1 ranking of the films. And again, this is just based on first watch or second watch in the case of the one already I had. But again, these will possibly change as time goes on. The first two, some of the films are on a double bill disc, and other ones are on a disc by themselves. So the first 12 and 11, it's the 5 Shaolin Masters and Shaolin Temple. Again, beautiful artwork. There's lots of wonderful extras. Tony Raines features on quite a lot of these in his interviews with people like Tai Lung and David Yang. Unfortunately, there's not anything by Philip Kwok or Mad Dog from Hard Boiled, which was a pleasant surprise that Mad Dog is in quite a lot of these films. So 5 Shaolin Masters and Shaolin Temple, they're fairly samey in the sense that the plots are pretty much a temple is broken down or set on fire, and disciples have to disperse through the countryside and find each other and team up, generally practice some martial arts and then go get the bad guys. And there's a few of these films that do kind of merge into one because they're just similar. Again, the fight scenes in these films are generally amazing. We'll get to some individual ones as we go through, but for me those two are just kind of samey and not as interesting. At number 10, I am going to go with Chinatown Kid. which strangely enough is about a kid in Chinatown who takes on the local thugs and learns Kung Fu himself. Again, a fairly standard tale. I kind of find the ones that stand out in this set are the ones that stand out and have something a little bit different about them, have different kind of quirks. But again, Chinatown Kid is a good film. It's got some nice fight scenes in it, but again, it's maybe not as standout as some of the other ones. And next is Mighty Peking Man, which probably, if I was being objective, probably would be number 12. This is the one that had an 88 Films Blu-ray release as well. But it's just so much fun. Danny Lee versus the Shaw Brothers version of King Kong. There's a Sheena, Queen of the Jungle character who has an amazing scene as she dances with a leopard, which has to be seen to be believed. It is very silly and very daft, but there's just a lot of charm about it, and it is kind of adorable in its own strange little way. Then we have two more which I just kind of felt didn't really stand out too much, and that's Challenge of the Masters and Executioners from Shaolin. Again, wonderful artwork. And again, these are good films, these are fun films. But again, just not a lot to really make them stand out. But they are still good, solid films. So we're at number 6. So I'm going to go with The Boxer from Shantung. Again, beautiful artwork. And this is kind of interesting. It's kind of set in the town, and it's this young country guy coming into town to try and make it, and he comes across these gangsters, and you automatically think, well, he's going to best the gangsters and let people, live a better life. But in actual fact, once he's defeated the gangsters, he just becomes a gangster himself, which is actually quite an interesting little twist, and in some ways he becomes worse than what the original gangsters were. So that's a kind of fun, interesting twist, and that's why that kind of ranks a little bit higher for me. And then we have Dirty Ho, or Dirty Who. Again, my pronunciations are not very good. And this is basically a wonderful film about people who aren't quite what they seem. There's a thief and a jeweler who kind of form a love-hate bond. The thief is poisoned at one point, and the jeweler has the remedy, but he kind of uses that over him, and then he turns out not to be who he is, and everyone they meet turns out to not be who they seem to be. This one has really unique and wonderful fight scenes. There's an amazing wine tasting scene, but as Tony Raines says, wine in the subtitles actually means hard liquor. The word really just means alcohol of all kinds, so wine doesn't really, so it's hard liquor, and as they get slightly more inebriated, it's just an amazing wine tasting session. There's another amazing scene with a little stool. There's an amazing scene with paintings. There's a wonderful fight with very sharp shoes. There's a great fight in a very windy place with parasols, and there's just lots of unique fight scenes in the film. There's a great relationship between the jeweler and the thief, and it's just a wonderful film, and that is number 5. Number 4 is the first one in the set, King Boxer. And this one is a kind of your standard tale of somebody who needs to get better at martial arts to defeat the baddies, but it has some interesting twists, and it gets there's actually quite a few of these films that are actually a little bit more gory and have red paint flying everywhere that I wasn't expecting as much. There's like eye gougings, and there is some red groovy splashed on the screen, but this kicks off the set very well. Again, it's a story that we've seen countless times, but it's just done very well. And again, it has little darker elements that really kind of elevate it. So number 3, and the top 3 are really, really, really good. Number 3 is The Five Venoms, which is absolutely wonderful. Again, this is one of the ones that stars Mad Dog from Hard Boiled. So there's 5 masters who each have a fighting style, as in Kung Fu. It's named after animals and the ways that animals move and attack and defend. So have the toad, the lizard, the snake, and I can't remember the other ones. Oh, how embarrassing. You can leave comments below to shame me with the other 2 of the 5 Venoms. And it's all about who's who, and some of the Venoms have turned bad. Some of them are good. People cross sides and team up with each other, and it's just a whole load of fun. Lots of great fights. I would say all these films kind of end really abruptly. It's literally like sometimes it's like the last fight has literally just stopped, and then the film just ends. There's no kind of, oh well, how are you and how are you doing and what are you going to do in the future. It's literally, it's the end. But Five Venoms is wonderful. And then number 2 is Heroes of the East, which is a fantastic film, which is about an arranged marriage between a Chinese man and a Japanese woman for business purposes. But the woman is always clashing about, she thinks her husband should kneel with her to eat, as they do in Japan, and the husband disagrees. So she practices her martial arts, the Japanese martial arts, at one point knocking down walls and statues in the garden, and it's all very funny and amusing until they have a massive falling out. She goes back to Japan to her martial arts master. Her husband sends word to bring her back, but the Japanese take that as a challenge, and they send about half a dozen different masters with different weapons and different martial arts, and her husband has to fight every single one of them. And the last 40 minutes of the film is basically just one fight scene after another, but they're all different. They're in different places, different settings. There's knives, there's nunchucks, there's spears. There's the last master is an expert in the ninja arts. So there's a wonderful scene in a straw field with straw men and haystacks. There's a great scene in kind of a quarry, but it's got grass and water. For some reason, the Japanese master with knives is always twitching his nose. No idea why. So that breaks it up and makes it different rather than just a slog of one fight after another. It's kept completely different. You know, you have a sword fight with a samurai and the Chinese sword. It's just a wonderful film. It keeps it fresh, it keeps it moving, and it's just absolutely fantastic. But number one for me is Crippled Avengers, which is a wonderful title by itself. Again, this stars Mad Dog from Hard Boiled, Philip Kwok. Hopefully I'm getting his name right and I'm not just naming one of the other actors. But Crippled Avengers is an absolute gem. The film starts in the past where this family gets kind of dismembered and disabled. The son gets his legs chopped off. I mean, again, there's lots of like blood everywhere. So you think you're on their side of the family who's had this done to them, but then later on they all turn bad. So one of the other children get their arms chopped off, but they get replaced with iron arms, and they go on a rampage, and then they attack these four guys. One of them's blinded, one of them has too much pressure in their head and becomes discombobulated, shall we say, and the other one gets his legs chopped off, and the other one is made deaf, and again they have to spend years training. You know, the one who got his legs chopped off gets iron legs, and they have to spend a good while in training, learning the martial arts, overcoming their disabilities, and then going back to kick some arse of the baddies at the end. It's an absolute blast. It's wonderful how the training differs and how you beat that training, depending on whether it's the blind guy or whether it's the deaf guy or the guy with no legs. It's just really interesting, wonderful fights. Again, the choreography in these films are amazing. I mean, Heroes of the East, some of those duels, you're literally just sitting almost hypnotised. It's like you want to take a drink or have something to eat and your eyes are just glued, because the skill level of these guys is just ridiculous. They're all wonderful, wonderful films, but for me the ones that kind of stick in the mind and stand out are the ones that have the kind of quirkiness, or the ones where people get their legs chopped off. But all in all, it's a wonderful set. I mean, again, this is volume 1, which does suggest there's going to be another volume at least. Again, it's still available. It is quite expensive, but you do get 12 films, and for me they're all at least a 3-star film, even though objectively Mighty Peking Man might not be, but like I say, that one's got a lot of charm, and a woman dancing with a leopard. I mean, you don't get that in many films. So thanks very much for watching. Please let me know what your favourite film in the Shaw Brothers set is, and maybe suggest what would be in Shaw Brothers Volume 2 from Arrow. So thanks very much for watching this one-sided box set battle, and hopefully you'll join me again for more videos. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.